We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast for building powerful men. And so it's interesting to me how women seem to be more interested in this podcast than men are, which is fascinating. And so the three questions for today is, do men want to be healed? Because you can't be strong if you're not healed. I don't think you can't be strong if you're not healed. Do women want the men in their lives to be healed? And do pastors, the church, want men to be healed? Now, if you're a pastor and you're listening to this, one is congratulations, because it's like pastors, they're not all men, but a lot of them are men. And it's like, it seems to me that they struggle with even receiving hard questions. So if you're a pastor and you're listening to this, I just want to commend you. Just say, hey, I admire you a lot. And so now, if you're feeling as a pastor defensive or maybe kind of getting a little upset, maybe think about this. Maybe there's a lot more truth to what's being shared than you'd like to think. Or maybe you're over connecting or identifying with a group of people, meaning other pastors, rather than having your identity in God. So it's always fascinating to me when I say something about women and the women get all testy. They're like, now, I didn't say all women. I didn't say that. And so I think women over-identify with other women. So when you say something against a woman, all the other women, and I don't mean all the other women, even when I'm saying all the other women, I don't mean all the other women. I mean most of the women, most of the time, they over-identify. Men often don't do that, which is strange. Anyways, that's not the topic, but maybe we'll get into it. I don't know. And so like, why do men want to be healed? Maybe not. Why though? Maybe, I don't know. I came up with 3 reasons or 4 reasons. Maybe you can come up with some. So the first might be self-awareness. If they haven't healed, they don't have to be self-aware. They can just be clueless doofs. Like Jonathan McKee, an employee years ago with with a company I have. And he acted dumb. I asked his ex-wife, like, does Jonathan, he's really smart, but he seems to act dumb. She laughed and she said, yeah, I asked him that too. And he said, well, the reason you act dumb is because then people have low expectations of you. So do men, dads, fathers, sons, brothers, do men around you women, do they act dumb because then they're hoping to lower the, like, I didn't know that. Like, how can you not know that? So they don't have to be self-aware. Personal ownership. They don't have to take ownership. There's always a reason. It's always somebody else's fault if they're not healed. If they're not healed, they don't have to be vulnerable. Like, they're always right. They don't have to say they're sorry, or if they do say they're sorry, they can say sorry, but, or sorry, and then they can be lazy. They don't have to grow because, again, they've never healed.
Can I stop you there?
Yes.
What do you mean, define healed?
Well, just look at the physical. So I think in the physical, in our bodies, if our bodies are healed, what does that mean? I think the same thing is true emotionally, relationally, morally, spiritually, everything. I think that when the body is healed, like, my understanding is that when you break a bone, if you set it properly, it will heal stronger. It'll be stronger after the break. Like, it actually is stronger. And so I think we're actually stronger. And so do men not want to be stronger because then they have greater responsibility?
Definitely.
And so, like, I've always felt like it doesn't make any sense to me. Why don't men and women want to discover their life vision? And I don't know. Man, it'd be cool if Karina was on. Like, that would just be the coolest thing in the world, because Nora said something about what Karina said, and I'm not sure what Karina meant. And so I wonder if Karina knows Beth Smith. Could be, I don't know. Anyways, um, so Karina said something about you don't want to rush through healing or something. Maybe you can share that.
No, she said to drag out your problems as long as possible because there's always going to be more problems. Now, she's not saying that like what she was trying to say is most people will like they don't learn what they need to learn when problems occur, and then like it builds your character. Like in that time, it builds your character, it builds strength. But most people just rush through and miss all of it. And then they solve the problem, but do they really solve the problem? And then there's always something else that comes up. There's always another problem.
Like that. That's, I don't know, the third time I heard it, and I heard it a little bit different this time, which is really cool. And so for me, I've always wondered, like Alan Stein said to me, Mark, you've discovered your life vision when you hate it, you resist it, you run from it, and it pursues you relentlessly and you can't escape it. Like, I just want to be a normal person. I don't want to go ahead and touch every single person in the world, one person at a time, make a huge difference in every area of their life in a really fun and exciting way. And that's 8+ billion. I don't want that. Why can't I just be normal? I mean, yes, last night, yesterday was very productive day, got a lot of stuff done. But, I don't know, about 6 o'clock, I'm like, I'm just going to watch, a guy movie. So I said to Rosanna, hey, I think I'm going to just watch a guy movie. And she's like, okay, that's fine. Yeah, no, that's good. She said, I watched a girl movie when you were playing pickleball. I'm like, okay. So it was fine. And afterwards, I'm like, she says, was it good? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, was that just a waste of 2 hours? I don't know. Alan Petlin and Nora and I are doing a podcast, and he called me and he had movies on his mind. He said, it's fascinating because he says he goes to movies only for entertainment. Mark goes and watches movies only for growth. Like, and so anyways, so let's get into the women. Maybe women don't want the men in their lives to heal. Why? Because if a man's healed, a woman can't control him. Vulnerability. If a man isn't vulnerable, then a woman doesn't have to be either. And if a woman, because she can be lazy, and she doesn't have to grow either, because you don't have to feel any pain because you're not growing. It's like you're in a constant state, like of hypoxia, not hypopia. That's something different. We'll talk about in another podcast. It's like you're drunk, you have a high state where you feel great. Like every addiction, I believe the core of every addiction comes down to entitlement. Every single addiction, doesn't matter what the addiction is, it always comes down to entitlement. I deserve to feel something without doing something or without being something. I'm just going to feel this way. And then why my pastors not want men to be healed? Challenge. Healed men are strong men and will challenge pastors. In my experience, in Mike Casper, not like it's interesting. because like I go to a church last week, brand new, first time going to the church, never been to the church before. And my guess is my wife and I probably are not going to change churches and go to that church. Lovely church. I'd recommend the church. I want to help the church grow. There's, I don't know, 50, 70 people want to grow to 150 people or whatever they want to grow it to. And so, Mike, like that's got to frustrate you, right? Like I thought Mark had an issue against pastors, but yet he wants to help this pastor. It was interesting. My friend who invited me to go, we were playing pickleball yesterday, and after we'd done, we were talking. He says, "So how much do you charge? How much do you charge? What are your services? How much do you charge for your services to help churches?" I'm like, I don't charge anything. He's like, "Really?" I'm like, he's like, "That's an interesting model." I'm like, right? Like, right? And so I said, "Oh, and I bring in other resources that I pay, and I don't charge for any of those resources either." I mean, would it be healthy for a church to maybe give something to somebody else? That might be. I might start doing that. Like, I don't know. Like, give to somebody else. Don't need it, don't want it. It's okay. And so he's just like, "Well, that takes care of that." Like we can't afford it. No, yeah, there's nothing there. And so pastors, like, do they not want strong men? Because strong men are going to challenge you. They just will. And then people who aren't healed need a pastor, need a church. Like Nora, like she shouldn't know this when she was 29 years old, a year ago. Well, maybe not a year ago, 6 months ago. We were talking with a bunch of men that were in their 80s. And we were talking about, I think it was birth defects or something. And Nora, like somebody who's 29 shouldn't know this, but she did. She asked Alvin Miller, she says, "Well, do something to the extent, do they want to go ahead and prevent this? Because if they do, then they're kind of out of jobs. They're whole, and pastors might laugh and say, "Trust me, Mark, there's always going to be problems with people." Right. I get, I'm a pastor's son. Trust me. I get your world. And so, like, I want to help all the pastors all around. Why? Because I have compassion for them. Why? Because they're kind of goofballs. They just are. Now, am I saying all pastors are? All the ones that I've gotten to know are. Like, as long as you tell them what they want to hear, then they like you. As long as you give money, show up, don't ask any hard questions. Like, don't ask any hard questions. It's a known, like they teach everybody, don't ask hard questions. Like church we're going through now, we went through membership class for 3 weeks. And at the end, I don't know, there's 30 people and 5 pastors, whatever on the front. And they say, "Does anybody have any questions?" I have over 30 questions. Over 30 questions for the church, for the pastors. Do I go ahead and do I say anything? Do I ask even one of those questions?
Why wouldn't you?
Because my wife and my children and grandchildren are at risk. Because if you're saying, "Well, now I'm really nervous about saying not." Like somebody went ahead the other day and said that I was lying to them. Because I said, you ought to read, the white paper, Addicted to Lazy. I'm not saying you're lazy. And they said I lied because I was saying they're lazy. And I feel bad. I want to help the person understand there's a spectrum. I'm not saying you're lazy 100% of the time. Like, I'm not saying you're 100% lazy with 100%. I'm not saying that at all. Can you go ahead and say that maybe sometimes, every once in a great while, you might have been lazy? Can you take your mind to that point? And the truth is that most men cannot. Most women can't either. They can't take their mind to, "I'm lazy." Like whenever I say something about a group of people, like our pastor is stupid or women, entitled. All you have to do is just flip the question and ask me and say, Mark, do you think you're entitled? Do you think you're lazy? I might be more stupid and lazy than everybody combined. I don't know. I mean, I'm open to the conversation for sure. So this song that we went over last time, like the lyrics are amazing. But maybe we substitute. You wanted a wife, but not a man's role. You wanted congregants. You wanted congregants, but not a pastor's role. You wanted kids, but not a father's soul. You wanted sheep, but you didn't want a shepherd's soul. Like this song, go ahead and be for pastors. It's not an attack, guys and gals. It's not an attack. It's an awareness to say you're not being told the truth. I mean, there's a group out there, and it's like, I mean, I felt threatened. I'm like, Small Church USA, like the founder of that said, you can't bring that name up. What do you mean I can't bring the name up? I can't say Small Church. Why? You're going to kill me? What? I mean, you're going to put a hit on me? Like, I got a friend like Dylan. He knows how to deal with that. So I don't think I'm afraid. I mean, so the church uses your wife and your kids like Hamas uses women and children as shields. And so a man knows you can't go ahead and bring it up in a church because they will hurt your wife, they will hurt your kids, they'll hurt your grandkids. So you can't ask any questions. So I didn't ask one question for two reasons. One is I didn't want my wife getting hurt. I don't want her ostracized. And she will be by the women in the church. If I challenge their husband, the women will come and protect the husband. It's just sad. It's just a sad thing, but it's true. It just happens. And I knew it wouldn't do any good anyways, because they'll laugh it off. They'll shrug it off. None of the people in none of the like in this church, there's a lot of pastors. There's not every single one of the pastors, Mike Casper, every single one of them have said they're going to do something that they haven't done. Normally.
So are you going to go back to that church again?
Well, Jill, they're all the same. I mean, they are. Like, I have challenged hundreds of people and pastors, like, get on a podcast with me. And I can't tell you how many people say, well, my pastor will. My pastor will get on. But they never do, which is fine. I don't care. But they think the pastor's like really strong. And I'd love to see one. I'd love to have one get on and interact with me. I mean, you women are different than normal women. You just are. Because I can say things about women and you'll say, there's a lot of truth to that. Mark's not saying all women all the time, and Mark's far harder on men than he is women. He just is. But it's like nobody's telling women the truth. They just aren't. Nobody's telling pastors the truth. They just aren't. They just aren't telling them the truth. Even ministries like Dwayne Earley, he's the vice president of strategic partners, meaning he's the vice president of raising funds. He sits across the table and somebody gives him $500,000 with ABWE. It's a great mission organization. There's thousands of missionaries. I mean, yeah, they did have issues with one of their missionaries sexually abusing people overseas. Yeah, but they got that all figured out. Do they? I mean, they've got 3 missionaries that say they're going to do things, but they don't do things. Well, nobody's perfect, Mark. What do you mean nobody's perfect? Like you say, the Bible says that you do it. You're yay be yay, you're nay nay. This is simple, but pastors don't do this. Men don't do this. This is why wives absolutely adore me. They just do. If your husband says he's going to do something, he does it. This is what being a man is. Not with begrudgingly like Rosanna, because she's got influence from a bunch of other women, which I love that because these women are really cool. But, she wanted to go out for steak on Friday. How was that date, Rosanna?
It was quiet. It was nice.
So it wasn't exactly how she wanted it. And I felt bad, really bad. Because, she said it was quiet. So she got this really great steak. And I got some of the best shrimp that I've ever had. It was great. Did I feel like going out? I did not. I mean, I'd been up since 2:30 in the morning working 15 hours. Did I whine? Did I complain? Did I want to? No, she wanted to go out for steak. We went out for steak. And I was quiet. And I'm like thinking, I want to figure out how to go ahead and not be quiet on something like that. So she wasn't upset. She's not angry. It was just quiet. And it's okay. I mean, it's okay for one date to be quiet. It's okay that, so it wasn't the best date in the world, but it might be one that I'll remember forever for multiple reasons. And so you like, how do you build strong men? It's almost like you got to have strong men around people, and they're not. It's like,
Do you think strong men are developed because of the way that they were taught by their fathers? And at this point in time, most young men are being raised by their mothers.
well, I think the internet's just destroying men. I think it's absolutely destroying them. I think it's absolutely, because what it is it's the gaming, the energy drinks, the high potent drugs and marijuana and the alcohol. It's emasculating men where they're not, there's not discipline, there's not consistency. It's like, I want to feel something. Even the sports, everything's about dopamine hit to your brain. Like you go from one dopamine hit to another dopamine hit to another dopamine hit to another dopamine hit, and all you're doing is feeling. There's nothing of substance. There's just not. And the churches, again, like, I just feel for them. I just feel for the pastors. I mean, I was invited to participate in a group of pastors, and I was there for a year, and I just felt bad for them. They just complained continually, but they didn't want solutions. They just wanted to complain to get the dopamine hit that they're victims. And then the lead pastor for that, he called me once, and after a year, and I'm like, I'm trying to help the group. I'm not criticizing. I'm not even asking hard questions. I'm like, hey, you guys, you say you have some issues with technology. I can help. I can do that. They don't have to pay me anything. I'll just volunteer and I'll bring in resources. I'll do everything. Like, I was really, really good for the group. Like, I was really good, really, really good. And then the lead guy calls me up one day, and he's like, I feel bad for Mike. I just feel bad. The reason you're not seeing what I'm seeing, Mike, is simple. It's because you're not telling pastors anything that they don't want to hear. You're just giving them the milk. There's no iron sharpening. There's just not, Mike. I'm just telling you. So the pastor calls me up, and he's like, hey, Mark, can I go ahead and can you come up to my office? So again, that's a power play. It's fine. So I said, sure. Can I ask what it's about? He says, I just want to ask for some input about, the group. I'm like, okay. And I knew he was lying. I just knew he was lying, but it's okay for pastors to lie. It's just strange. This is the leader of the pastors group. He's a pastor and he's the leader, and he doesn't even think anything of it. So when I go up there, I'm just like, I tell her, I was thinking about dropping out anyways, because I can't help these guys because they don't want help. They don't want to be healed. They just don't. And another pastor in the group that knows all the pastors in the area, he says 75% of the pastors don't want to be with their church or don't want to be a pastor anymore. So I go up there, and he greets me and takes me into his office. And what does he do? He brings his protector in. He brings the person who's going to protect him from me. And who is that person? It's his assistant, who's a woman. So I go in and I sit down and he says, "Hey, Mark, I've been thinking that, you're not a pastor," which I was invited by 3 of them to join. And I told all 3, "I'm not a pastor." They're, no, you'd help. You'd be there. You'd resonate. Your dad's a pastor. You could help. I'm like, okay, then I'll show up every month. And I did faithfully. And he says, "You're not a pastor, so I think it'd be best, for you not to be part of the group." I said, okay. He didn't, he didn't go ahead. He did not. I mean, I just feel bad for him, Mike. How can you not see this? Well, it's simple, because you're just like the other men in the church. You ask if I'm growing spirit. Okay, that's a fair question. Are you growing, Mike? Like, are you growing, Mike? Like, iron sharpening iron. What iron are you sharpening? Did I go ahead and say, "I thought you asked me, you told me that you wanted to ask my input"? He lied to me, just straight up and out lied. And the problem is, all the other pastors before him have trained me, don't call a pastor out on lying. Just don't, because they'll rationalize it. These are the leaders, the spiritual leaders of the men. And they're taught to seduce women from, not talking sexually. I mean, sometimes that happens. As a kid, I remember that, with a pastor and somebody he was counseling, or his secretary. I remember those situations. I'm talking emotionally, spiritually. Like, you go ahead, Father's Day is like, you're challenging the fathers on Father's Day. Why? To make them feel like they're being challenged. But is there any follow-up on it? No, you come and men just know, okay, I'm going to take a beating one day. Well, you get it throughout. And women, they're just given a pass. Like, if mama's not happy, nobody's happy. If a pastor ever says that, a woman should stand up and say, "I reject that. That is not true." Like, they'll kick me out of church. They'll call security, or they'll go ahead and send me a letter and say, "Hey, you're no longer welcome." But they won't do it to a woman. Like, I reject that. That is what you're doing, is saying, if mom is not happy, nobody's happy. Are you kidding? What kind of grit? Like, mom's the most selfish person in the world, and it's all about her. And pastors joke about that in front, and everybody laughs. It's absolutely, like, I just want to cry. Because why? Because it's true. It's just true. And nobody does anything. And I just sit and look around, and everybody's laughing. And I'm like, my heart just hurts. It just aches. It just absolutely aches. So women, there's a few of them that are rising up and saying, "You know what? They're just not working out well." Unfortunately, they're the ones rising up. There's far fewer men, which is evident by who's on today. It's women. It's not men. They don't show up for this kind of stuff. Why? I don't know, because they're convicted. Like, Jesus peeled off the religious leaders, oldest to youngest, I believe. One wrote something in the sand, wiped out one. Wrote another thing in the sand, wiped out a second. Wrote another thing in the sand, wiped out the third. Wiped them out. Like, why? It's not that hard. It's just not, and it's sad. It's absolutely a tragedy. I mean, 10 grandkids, another 2 on the way. And one of my grandsons is getting baptized today, and I'm happy, but I'm sad. Because is he going to go ahead and just become like other men in the church that show up and think a lot of themselves? So you show up and you do you do the outside, but you're like whitewashed sepulchers, like bones, dead bones. Like, ladies, I've always had this question. Maybe you can answer it. Like, why don't pastors like me?
I don't
Men don't like to
understand.
be challenged.
Like, it's kind of a rhetorical question. Like, Mark, do you know why people don't like? Yeah, I do, because I ask hard questions. And then when they flip them back on me and they say, "Well, Mark, are you like this?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm open to that for sure. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about my issues because, yeah, let's talk." And I'm fine with that. I love that. I love saying, "Mark, you missed it here. You missed this here. You missed this here. You missed this here." So my wife doesn't have to tell me. I'm glad she brought it up, though, where she said she was, I was quiet, very quiet. There's so much going through my head. And, I'm not making an excuse, 14, 15-hour day, a long week, hard week. Yeah, I'm not making, it's just like she considered that and she was okay with it. I mean, she was okay with it, but she didn't have to tell me she'd have preferred conversation. So I'm like, okay, how? Yeah, I need to improve. I need to get better. And it's fine because I'll have another date. We'll have another date, Lord willing, next Friday and another one after that. And my goal is one time when I have that type of thing, I'm going to be more talkative. She doesn't have to tell me that. Nobody else has to tell me that. Like I'm telling myself that because that's what men do. It's like, you know what? She gets one date a week and I need to go ahead and try to make that really special for her. Anything else that any of you have?
This is building strong men.
I,
What do you suggest as a grandmother as I watch my grandsons, how I can help them to be strong men?
See, the thing is, it's interesting, Rosanna, on how much you do. Like you're a server, you just serve people. You watch their kids and, you do all this stuff. And so, the sons-in-laws that you watch their kids, like, can you get them to go ahead? Or do they consider that's just a privilege for grandma because she just loves the grandkids? Like she couldn't get more, she can't get enough of them. So, you do something for them, they should do something for you. What's interesting is you do it for them so they can go on a date with with their wife, which again, we think that's really good and we'll support the kids, but like you'll do hours and hours and hours of work to help your sons-in-laws. But can they watch a 30-minute podcast and share? Can they share? Can they share their thoughts on this? What do you think? What applies? Not saying 100% of it applies to you, but can you come up with something? But I think you're like a lot of women and you just serve and you don't expect anything in return. You're not doing this for your benefit. You're doing it for their benefit, for their children's benefit, for their wives' benefit. You're serving them to help them, getting them to watch this, to go ahead and think about it. Because they're not going to get it at church. They're just not. They're not going to get it from their other men in their life. They're not going to get it. Their wives might be afraid of getting it to them. They're fearful. Like if I go ahead and try to challenge my husband, who knows what kind of an attitude he's going to have? I don't know. So you use leverage and say, listen, I watched your kids for 3 hours so you could go on a date. And I don't mind doing that at all. But if you could do me a favor and you could go ahead and, watch this podcast, what do you think about it? What are your thoughts? Because if the dads are goofballs, you can have a hardworking dad. You can have a dad that's in the game, that's fighting. He's there. He's continually there. And he still can have goofball sons. What? Why? Because it's hard work not being a goofball. It's hard work. It's just hard work. It's harder in the short term. But if people are playing, they're playing the short term game, they're just going to be lazy. And if they're around other lazy men, they're going to be lazy. And if they're, on the internet, they're going to be gaming. I mean, I've heard of men in their 30s and 20s and 30s that are married. I mean, I remember when I was 20 and I was married. Any ideas what I was really interested in?
Time with me.
What she means is physical intimacy. Really interested in that. Like, couldn't get enough of it. Like, it's just, I've heard of women who go ahead and say their husbands would rather do gaming or something else rather than have physical intimacy with their wife. It's like, it's mind blowing to me. I don't understand it. It's like, how in the world? Because they're not healed.
What do you think it would take to get them healed?
Well, Nora and I on your voice in my headset. Well, tell you what, that's the next podcast that we'll go into. We'll go into that. So I don't know, ladies, get your husbands, get your sons, get your grandsons to listen to this and have some thoughts. I'm telling you, man, like, you want to do this. You just do, because it's not just this life that you're focused in on. It's for all of eternity. It's for all of eternity. I believe your entire eternity is going to go ahead and be somehow, I don't know how that works, I'm not God, but somehow your entire eternity, everything forever and ever, is going to go ahead and be decided on or influenced or something based on how you go ahead and are a husband first and foremost, and then your children. And then beyond that, if you do a good job or try to do, you work your tail off for that, then it's expanding it beyond your family. So we're going to have more conversations. That's a great one. Always pass this along to others, men to men, women to women, women to men, men to women. Like, pass this along. Like, it's interesting over the years. Like, I asked Rosanna, 1 to 10, how'd you rate our marriage? 1 to 10, how'd you rate me as a husband? Men are like, man, you got a lot of courage. And then what do you like most about me as a husband? And what's one thing that I could do to improve to be a husband? And men are like, I can't believe you do that, Mark. That's a lot of courage. No, that's intelligence. Like, what I'm doing is I'm not doing that because I'm a good husband. I'm not doing it because of that. I'm doing it because I understand my wife. And that is that I need to map her and find out what I'm doing to make her happy so I can continue to do that and more. So she's fulfilled continually. And that gives me more time and bandwidth to do what God's put on my heart to do, to impact other men and women and children and grandchildren and marriages and all those kind of things. So, man, I'm just telling you, join in. The confidence you will have, and you won't be dependent on making other people happy. You just won't. You're not doing things to make people happy, to please people. You're doing things because you believe it's the right thing to do. And you've got enough discernment. If I'm gaining something of benefit, maybe it's not the right thing to do. Like, it's just cool. So this has been awesome.
Mark.
Hopefully you pass it on to others. Yes.
I just thought of one thing. Karina also said that you can tell how much a man loves God by how much he cares for his wife.
See, that just leads into I think we might have a part 2 today. We'll see. I answer Jill's question and Nora's question. That's really, really good stuff. So here we go. Always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.